Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cartoon Boom. This is a show where we wake up with the Saturday morning sun, popped on the floor with a big bowl of sugar is here, and we'll watch our favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm Joseph.
Hakuna Matata, I'm a pig, and my name's Chris.
And this morning, we watched Timon and Pumbaa.
Means no worries for the rest of your days.
It's a problem-free philosophy.
Hakuna Matata.
Let's talk about the show.
This was suggested to us by I'm the Champion 23 and Nicholas Moss. So thank you to both of you.
I'm the Champion 23?
Yeah, that was their name. They're the 23rd champion.
Well, I mean, I guess it's good to be proud of yourself. Are they 23 years old and they're feeling like a champion? Because once you hit 30, you might not feel the same.
Yeah, I mean, that much is true. I didn't take it as that they were 23 years old. I took it as they're the 23rd champion.
The 23rd champion. Okay, so they got 23rd place, meaning they're not a champion at all. That's not even bronze medal. That's like you get a certificate to put a magnet to magnetize on your fridge. That's it. Honorable mention.
When I was really little, I participated in a talent show where I did some taekwondo stuff. And I got real excited afterwards because they gave me a purple ribbon. And it wasn't until later that I realized, like, if I turned it over, it said honorable mention on it. And I was just like, oh, dang, that's not even a place.
Until you saw later that your mom had one too. And she's like, yeah, everybody got one who went in.
Yeah, there was like 8 other people that had one. And I was like, dang, that sucks.
Oh,
well, anyway.
Okay, so I am the Champion 23 and Nick Moss. I got so distracted, I forgot what the other one was.
Yeah, Nicholas Moss.
Nicholas Moss, okay.
Nick Moss sounds cool. That's a cool name.
Nick Moss.
Sounds like some sort of, I don't know, like detective guy.
Yeah, a PI or something at least.
Yeah, Moss. Nick Moss, PI.
Nick Moss. This is my partner. I am Champion 23.
My robot. This is my robot partner who is used to participate in the robot fighting championships. I am the Champion 23.
He's the 23rd of his line. I am champion.
I love it.
Oh man.
We came up with a whole canon for this, and I'm here for it.
I like it.
I want to see that show.
Yeah, it would have been better than this one, I think. So the show Timon and Pumbaa aired from 95 to 99, based on The Lion King by Walt Disney Animation Studios, obviously produced by Walt Disney Television and Walt Disney Television Animation. This ran for 3 seasons, 85 episodes, which was 131 segments. And originally it aired, so the first part of the first season was on syndication, and then it started airing on CBS for the rest of season 1 and 2, and then Toon Disney for season 3, which kind of came back much later. So it was canceled because of some kind of like shifting that Disney was doing, or I guess they had either bought out a company or a company was bought out. The show got like temporarily halted. And then the 3rd season came back like a couple years later on Toon Disney with apparently no advertisement or anything.
Okay.
It was just like, hey, we're back.
Interesting.
And for a short synopsis, the further misadventures of the lovable warthog Pumbaa and his meerkat buddy Timon from The Lion King, 1994.
Hey, okay. I mean, yeah.
Yes, but big but on this one, because this cannot be canon. It's impossible for it to be canon.
Okay. And explain your reasoning, though.
As we break... No. You know what? I'm not going to right now, because as we go through the episodes, it will be readily apparent why it's not canon. So we'll talk about it as we go.
It's gotta be canon, because they even talk about Simba in one of the episodes, remember?
I know, but maybe it's an alternate universe, because it can't be. It cannot be canon.
Is this part of the multiverse that Doctor Strange accidentally opened up when Peter Parker was like, I need everyone to forget about me? And then Timon and Pumbaa somehow got involved. Yeah, we don't know. We don't know how it happened, but it did.
No idea, because apparently they also forgot the rules of how, the Lion King movie worked. But anyway, who are some of the actors who played in this non-canonical show?
Timon was voiced by a billion different people. Timon was originally voiced by Nathan Lane, who was the original voice actor in The Lion King, but he only lasted for about 10 episodes in season 1. Then he was replaced by Quentin Flynn for the rest of season 1 through part of season 2. I don't know if it was all the way through season 2 or just part of season 2. And then he was replaced by Kevin Shun, who continues to voice Timon in any Disney property that he's featured in. So any other shows, like appearances that he makes, video games, stuff like that, Kevin Shun is now the voice of Timon. I don't know why Timon went through so many changes or why Nathan Lane was just like, I'm out, but it happened. The voice of Pumbaa was voiced by Ernie Sabella, who was the original voice from the movie and continued on. So he didn't have all the problems Nathan Lane had, I suppose. That was pretty much the two main characters. I'll name a few others here just for fun, though. So the natives were voiced by Jeff Bennett, who is known for being in shows like Dexter's Laboratory, where I believe he played the dad. He was Johnny from Johnny Bravo. He was in Shaolin Showdown, tons more. Ed the Hyena was voiced by Jim Cummings. We talked about him recently, who's most known for Winnie the Pooh and Tigger. He also voiced Taz in Tasmania, which we just did a couple weeks ago. Banzai the Hyena was voiced by Rob Paulson, who is also in Tasmania, which we just talked about. He's also known for voicing Yakko Warner from the Animaniacs, Pinky, all kinds of other roles that we would talk about forever. Shinzi the Hyena was voiced by Tress MacNeille, who is known for playing Dot Warner in the Animaniacs, as well as tons of other voices in WB cartoon properties, and anything touched by Matt Groening, like The Simpsons, Futurama, Disenchantment. She's in all of those things. Character of Quint was voiced by Corey Burton, who's been in tons of classic 80s cartoons like G.I. Joe, Transformers, as well as Disney properties like Gummy Bears, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers as Chip, Goof Troop, Bonkers, Quack Pack. The list goes on. You can just name a Disney cartoon from the 80s and 90s, and he appeared in it. I guess there's a giant panda character that appears in 14 episodes. We didn't see him, but that was Frank Welker, the myth and legend. He needs no explanation. Frank celebrated his 76th birthday in March. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah. It's awesome.
And then the voice of Rafiki was done by Robert Guillem, who is the original voice returning from the film. And he continued to voice Rafiki in many other appearances in cartoons, video games, things like that, up until 2013. So that's basically the cast. There you go. We're done.
Yeah, so we had a lot of recurring characters from the movie itself. So you would think it would be, I guess, a lot more like the movies, but it's really not.
It's not, no.
Again, we'll dive more into that. But first, here's a few tasty marshmallows out of our big bowl of Timon and Pumbaa cereal. In an episode set in Manhattan, Pumbaa tells Timon, I want to see a Broadway show, Guys and Dolls. Nathan Lane and Ernie Sabella, the voices of Timon and Pumbaa, co-starred in the highly successful 1992 Broadway revival of the musical The Guys and Dolls. So that's kind of like a meta comment on the actors themselves.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Another one that's very meta. Timon occasionally refers to himself as that rat thing from The Lion King, and this was Nathan Lane's own description of Timon when he was asked about it. I don't know. We don't hear that during the episodes we watched, but at some point in the series, apparently he refers to himself as such. This show features a minor antagonist named Bahuka. Bahuka was another name for the Hindu deity Nala, and in the Lion King franchise, the lioness is Nala, who is a major protagonist. However, she's one of the only Lion King characters who never appeared in the TV spinoff. We don't see any Nala throughout. Yeah.
I wonder why.
I don't know. And also, some episodes reference cartoon humor from the Looney Tunes shorts by Warner Brothers, which is very apparent because this is more of a variety show than it is a follow-up to The Lion King, I would say.
Yeah, I think you got something there. That's yeah. It doesn't really have a whole lot of continuity or anything like that, you know?
No, and there's no rules here either. It's just kind of an anything goes situation. So any logic that The Lion King set forth is just completely ignored.
Sure, yeah. Well, when I was going through the cast, I mentioned the name Corey Burton and a few of the projects that he's voiced in. But one I didn't mention that he worked on is The Amazing Screw-On Head, which is the topic of our Patreon exclusive episode for our Nerd Sloth Treehouse members that are donating at that $5 a month Twig level membership. It's a great episode. It's just as ridiculous as it sounds. So if you're interested, head over to patreon.com/nerdsloth and check out all of the different perks waiting for you as a Treehouse member. And speaking of, a huge thank you and welcome to our newest Twig level members, Giraffe of Betrayal and NX Gamer, Thank you so much for choosing to help support us and keep our shows running. We hope that you enjoy all the content available to you in the Treehouse.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. So let's just go ahead and jump into the episodes we watched for today's show. The very first one being Boara, Season 1, Episode 1A. And this kind of starts off on a problematic note, I would say. However, I do want to add that on Disney Plus, where I watched this, they had a note beforehand that stated they understand that a lot of this, like it wasn't acceptable back then and it's not acceptable now. But instead of pulling it, they're going to show it with this disclaimer so that people are aware that they understand that it's not appropriate content necessarily.
Yeah, I was wondering when this was going to happen. I was wondering when we were going to face something like this.
They really towed the line here, though, because it's like, on one hand, it's very inappropriate, and on another hand, it's kind of inappropriate in a different way. But they tried to fix it. So anyway, we'll talk about it. So on a tropical island, Timon and Pumbaa run into the three natives who make Pumbaa their god king and try to kill Timon for intending to abduct him.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me start with the way this opens, is with them being shipped on a crate to some tropical island thinking they're going skiing, and they come out singing Jingle Bells. So I guess they're on vacation, already dressed up for vacation. So immediately that throws any kind of like, I guess, logic of them being animals as part of the Pride Lands wherever in Africa or around the African continents that they were supposed to be. Like now they're just freely going on vacation, shipping themselves off to places, which is already kind of weird. But it's like, all right, I'm still with you. But then these tribal members come out, like literal ones with like the big like tribal mask and everything, and like the straw skirts, the hula skirts, and then the spears and stuff. It's like just as stereotypical as you could imagine. And before everything they say like umgala bungala or umgala boogala or something like that.
Right. And they're very tiny. They're real small.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of pygmies.
I like that part. I like that they're tiny. That part's fun. But this is an interesting episode. Let me tell you that. First of all, the one thing I did want to point out, and this encompasses the whole show. Man, shows from the 90s loved their saxophone solos in their theme songs, didn't they? Man.
Oh, yeah.
Goodness gracious. Those saxophones were just going wild. I don't know what was going on there, but like, I guess that was just the cool thing back then.
They're freshening it up, making it jazzy. But it's like, it's just Hakuna Matata with Timon and Pumbaa's names added to it, basically, the theme song, as I discussed at the end of the last episode.
Yeah. And then, they get there. Pumbaa stumbles across these natives, and I say he stumbles across. They stumble across him, steal him to eat him, and then the leader or the king or whatever notices that they have a statue, and Pumbaa looks just like it. So instead, they make Pumbaa their new king or whatever. Timon gets jealous, of course, and is kind of trying to put an end to it, kind of trying to stop it, because Timon needs to be the center of attention of everything. So they get mad and they put him in this like basket, toss him with all these flowers and stuff, which Timon mistakes for them making him the leader because they're like prettying him up. And then they start carrying him in this basket up to the volcano. But like we can figure out that he's about to be a sacrifice.
Yeah. And comes very close to being sacrificed. They literally drop him in and he just kind of hangs on and is begging them to not do it, which I was a little confused here because I was like, do they understand him? Because when he's begging and saying he'll do anything, like it cuts to the next scene where he's now serving Pumbaa as his, his servant instead of in their place. Like he's doing all the treatment of Pumbaa now as who is still enlisted as their god king or whatever. Like he's filing his hooves and feeding him and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, they try to throw him in and he freaks out and he begs for his life. So then, he goes back to having to do all that stuff again to pamper Pumbaa and everything. Then they start like figuring out their escape. Well, Timon starts trying to plot, and then what happens is like they set up like this thing where they ask him to create fire because their fire goes out. And Pumbaa is just like, oh, I guess I'll try. It works. Like he conjures all these clouds. His eyes become flames. and then he just creates fire in this basket, but then a rainstorm comes and just washes it out and it's gone.
Yeah, and then they call him an imposter and start chasing him for most of the rest of the episode. And that's when, for some reason, it breaks out into a samba. Like, Timon just like starts playing some music. They all break out into a dance number, and then they get away. And the natives take off their costumes, revealing that they're actually college kids who are out on a Being Native weekend vacation. And they just decide to go back to the university. One of them gets upset. And he's like, wait, we're not getting our deposit back. And so it's like, yeah, this is the setup of this was like these tribe members were actually college kids dressed up to kind of play as being native. But then another problem arises where all these kids are also black kids. So it's like African-American kids playing as these tribe members. It's problematic. And so probably just wasn't thought through well enough when released.
Yeah, they that was a bit of a fumble, especially for the 90s. That was something I would have expected to see more of in the 60s or 70s, I think. But yeah,
I mean, back then for sure. But the 90s, I would have thought we would have learned by then. However, here we are. So they leave. Timon and Pumbaa are free. So they're trying to make their way back to the beach to actually have a good time. And then there's all these buildings and boats that just arose. And Timon's just like, oh, developers, oi. And it's like, okay, I guess that's a joke.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm just saying, like, how random this show is. It's like these weird things are happening. And I'm going to compare it to Bubsy again in that it's kind of random stuff happening that doesn't really have much sense to it. Unlike Tasmania, which actually made sense. We've watched a lot of like really random shows in a row. And it's making me appreciate Tasmania even more for having logic made out of these random situations. Whereas this one, I think, is kind of falling short there, at least in this first episode.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I totally see that. Yeah.
So the second one we watched for today's show was Mombasa-in-Law, season 1, episode 17A. At least that's what it was on Disney Plus. I've also seen it as season 1, episode 22A on Wikipedia. So, it may vary wherever you're watching it. This was a Patreon pick by Gary K. and Anthony D. So thank you both.
Yes, thank you very much. This was two of our Nerd Sloth Treehouse Twig level members that helped us pick this episode. So thank you very much for doing that.
So in this one, Timon gets a visit from his mother. To convince her that Timon has settled down, Pumbaa has to play Timon's wife. This character actually was voiced by Estelle Harris, who played Mrs. Potato Head in the Toy Story movie.
I guess. Yeah, that's right. I was trying to think, like, wait, there was a Mrs. Potato Head, and then I remember that one now. Yeah. I gotta say, out of the episodes that we watched, I liked this one the best. I don't know how you feel about it, but this one made me laugh the most.
This one made me... yeah, I'm laughing thinking about it. This one made me laugh the most for sure. I didn't like the ending of it.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
That's where it pulled me out. Yeah, but yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah. So basically, Timon's mom's coming to visit. She's very judgmental. Timon is freaking out because he needs to look like a contributing member of the Meerkat Society. So he bought a suitcase that says he's the president of a job on it.
President of big company. Yeah.
Yes. He built a house just from scratch, yeah. Which that in itself makes me crack up, that he just built a whole house. And it was like a nice house he built too. Like it was well put together.
Yeah.
It wasn't some just dingy structure. Like he did a good job. But then the last thing was he needs a wife. And Pumbaa, it took a minute for him to catch on. Then he's like, oh no. And he had like sewn all these clothes together that were Pumbaa's size, like all these dresses and blouses. And just the lengths that he went to it was just cracking me up so hard. I really liked it.
Yeah. So Pumbaa had to go by the name of Patty to play as Timon's wife. His mother gets there, and they're basically a Jewish family, because we even see Timon's last name in the next episode, and it's Berkowitz. Timon Berkowitz.
Yeah. I was so surprised by that. I was like, holy crap, Timon's Jewish.
Yep.
And his mom totally does like the Jewish mom voice and everything. And I love to, like, when she shows up, she's constantly comparing him to Ira, who I don't remember if they said that's his brother, his cousin, or just someone
Maybe
that she
I think his
knows.
cousin. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Pumbaa becomes Patty and is dressed as a housewife. And he looks hilarious. The wig that he's walking upright all the time, the dress, everything. It's so funny. And the funny thing is how seriously Pumbaa takes the role as Patty. So serious that like immediately somebody knocks on the door and they're like, "Hey, we have an inheritance for Pumbaa." And like, you know, I guess somebody passed on and now we have this huge inheritance. And he's like, "Sorry, no Pumbaa here, just Patty."
Yeah.
And then closes the door.
And Timon gets very upset at him. He's like, "If they're offering you money, you're still Pumbaa." Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was funny.
So yeah, the mom gets there. She's very judgmental about, you know, Patty as Timon's wife, saying that like she's out of shape and all this. So Pumbaa's like sucking in and trying to look thin.
Ira's wife is thin. Ira's wife can bake this. And it's like, oh man.
And so Pumbaa's trying to impress her at every turn. And then it turns into a situation where she's like, "Well, I can't leave you behind unless I find a rich husband to marry or something." And so Pumbaa then takes on the guise of Patrick, the billionaire who wrecked on the side of the road or something, and or whose car broke down. And so he comes in, instantly proposes to Timon's mother, and she accepts it. But first, before she leaves, before she's comfortable leaving, she wants to meet Patty's whole family first. And so then Pumbaa has to dress up as every different family member. And it's great the way he breaks it out, because he's like, "Okay, when I say this name, this is the number that you have to wear this set of clothes." And seeing him, the part that made me laugh the most was seeing him run back and forth, changing outfits and like breaking out in like he was completely like so drenched in sweat because he just would go back and change into Patrick's clothes real quick, come running out, breathing heavy, trying to keep the act on. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And then it gets even worse. Yeah, when she does the whole like, well, like I need to meet, you know, Patty's family, you know, her mom, her dad, her cousins, all this stuff. And he's got like a billion different like costumes he's got to do now. And I love that they all have like the similar names that he introduces himself as. So he dresses up as Patty's mom, runs out and introduces herself as Paula. And then the dad, he introduces himself as Paul. And there's some really good callbacks here that keep cracking me up too. Is one thing Timon keeps saying whenever Pumbaa complains, he's just like, "Well, it's not like I can just throw her in a rocket to the moon or something like that." He says that a bunch of times, and that will come back in a big way. Yep. And then another thing Timon keeps saying is he's always like, "But you said you'd do anything for me." And it'll cut to what is obviously a fake flashback of like them doing some utter nonsense, like, you know, spacewalking on the moon. And Pumbaa is saying something like, "You know, I'd do anything for you, especially dress up as like any family member," or something like that.
Especially dress up as a woman, especially dress up as a rich billionaire or something. Yeah.
And Pumbaa would be like, "Oh yeah, I guess I forgot about that." And so he keeps feeling guilted into doing it over and over until the point that he's wearing too many of the same things, kind of gets caught in the lie because he gets so confused, so bent out of shape. He's out of breath. He's got multiple items of clothes on, and he just gives up and he freaks out and he screams at Timon's mom and just passes out on the floor. And oh my God, I was almost in tears laughing at that point because it got me so good.
At that point, he was supposed to be coming out as the baby, but he's wearing like different parts of everybody's clothes, and he comes out like, wah, like whining like a baby.
Yeah.
And she's just like, "You don't look like a baby to me." And that's when he gives the line like, "They call me Mr. Pig," and then passes out.
Yep.
And that's when Timon comes out and confesses everything to his mother, that he doesn't have a job, he's not married, and doesn't even have clean underwear.
Yes.
And everything was great up until this point, because then she's like, "It's okay, because I'm not really your mother." and she pulls off this costume, and it's his practical joking friend Fred, which is such a this made like zero sense to throw this into the blender of things going on. It just broke I don't know. It broke the comedy for me and made it like, it took me back to where the first episode did, where I was like, why is this random stuff even happening? Like, they're just throwing stuff up against the wall and it just didn't make any sense. And I guess it was only so that they could pull off the rocket ship joke by then launching Fred to the moon, because it was some April Fool's joke apparently, and so they launched him into space, and that's the end of the episode.
Yeah, that's it.
So it's like, just for that, yeah.
There we go.
So like 95% of this episode was great, and then the last 5% was just unnecessary. I really feel like they could have written a better like ending to that, still involving his mother and not somebody disguised as his mother.
Yeah, it didn't bug me that much, but like, yeah, I do think that it was sort of a semi jump the shark moment, as like, well, that wasn't really needed, was it? Sort of thing.
Yeah, like a launch the shark into space moment.
It just would have been funnier if it was still his mom and the mom was just like, you know, you didn't have to do all that. Like, I still, you know, I still love you kind of thing. Or like, or if she would have been like, well, Ira did this, and, you know, like compared him to Ira again about how Ira screwed up even more or something, like that would have been pretty good.
Or if they had pulled off like an actual like rich person comes to the door, or the guy coming back to give Pumbaa the inheritance or something. Yeah. And then like she runs off with that guy and Pumbaa's money at the same time. And so it kind of fixes that whole problem. I like already, like in the last like 5 minutes, we've written a better ending than they gave us.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's not that bad. It's just like, it was a weird thing to add to an otherwise really funny episode.
Exactly.
So the last one we watched was Once Upon a Timon, season 2, episode 19, both A and B. This was the highest rated. When Timon and Pumbaa refuse to tell Zazu about themselves, Zazu has Rafiki tell him why Timon is an outcast from his meerkat colony and how he first met Pumbaa.
Yeah. So, yeah, it starts with Zazu showing up to talk to Rafiki, and I believe Zazu is voiced by Michael Goh in this, I think. I'm not sure. Anyway, basically the gist of it is that Zazu is concerned about Simba, who is now king, and is just kind of like, hey, these idiots, which is true, these idiots, Timon and Pumbaa, they have an awful lot of influence on the king. I need to know more about these two buffoons, and, you know, is trying to get them together and sign some paperwork, all kinds of stuff. And he generally needs to know more about them. And I guess he says something like he knows why Pumbaa is an outcast, but he doesn't know why Timon is. And so Rafiki's like, oh, you don't know the story. And Zazu's like, yeah, just, you know, write it down and send it to me. But Rafiki like knocks him down with his stick. It makes Zazu sit and listen. And God, I love Rafiki. He's great.
Yeah.
He's just so funny. He makes him sit down and listen. He tells the story. And what I liked about this, though, was that just how different Timon is from everybody else with the meerkats. So I guess like the meerkats themselves as like a civilization, like they live in the colony, but they're all really strict and they're really precise with everything they do. And they
very efficient.
They have a very efficient society. And Timon was a guard, but he guarded the back gate of the colony that no one ever used for any reason.
Yeah.
So he was kind of seemingly pointless, and he was just always so bored back there. The one perk is that he had a really good view of this window where the Duke's daughter, her room was there, and whenever she would lean out the window or something like that, he could see her. Her name was Tatiana. And he had this huge crush on her. He was in love with her. So that was kind of like the one perk of the job that kept him there.
So we see his friend Fred, who we now know from the last episode, strangely enough, come back into play. And Fred is the guard of the castle. And while the Duke is out, Fred's just coming to get like a snack or something. And he stops by to see Timon and is like, hey, the Duke's out, but he left his daughter there. So if you leave your post, you can go see her. And Timon's hesitant at first because he's like, if they find out I left my post, I'm going to get banished. And he's like, well, that's if they find out. So He's like, all right, challenge accepted, basically. So he leaves his post, goes to take a shower and stuff. And we see as he's leaving, this giant cobra is approaching the back gate, the one that no one ever comes to. So I think Timon just set up like a mop or something with a bucket on it to look like he was still there guarding it.
Yeah, he put his helmet on top of the mop.
Yeah, that's right. And so as Timon is preparing to go and see the Duke's daughter, this snake is kind of plowing through town, like scaring everybody and ultimately getting to the castle and kidnapping or what everyone else thinks is killing the Duke's daughter because they see her crown and it has like red stuff dripping all over it. But she was also painting at the time. So it's just red paint dripping off of this crown.
Yeah. And God, that snake was huge. It was this huge cobra.
Yeah.
And it was just ripping through everything, destroying all of the town, everything like that. And it was kind of, the juxtaposition was a little funny, cutting back and forth between the snake destroying buildings, knocking people over, and Timon like scrubbing himself in the shower singing.
Right.
Just kept going back and forth, and he's just like, not a care in the world. Meanwhile, like the whole city's being destroyed.
Terrified.
Yeah, once he comes out, like the guards have all assembled. The main guard, I think you could tell, was voiced by Jim Cummings, and he was just like, "Where's Timon?" Because he was supposed to be, back there, and they're super mad at him for abandoning his post because it's like if he hadn't abandoned the post, the snake wouldn't have come through. However, I have to hazard a guess. That snake was so big and so powerful. What would Timon have done to this gigantic snake? That's like saying, like, oh, Chris abandoned like his post, so Godzilla got in. Like,
right.
I don't think I stood a chance.
Like, there's something you could have done. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
At the most, I guess Timon could have done was sacrifice himself so that the Duke's daughter was not kidnapped. But it was apparent that the snake was after the Duke's daughter because he had all these chances to eat the other civilians and just avoided everyone to get to the castle.
Right.
So you're right. There's nothing Timon could have even done. But, that's not how the townspeople see it, not how the guard sees it. So they take him to court, basically, and get him banished by the Duke. That's where we find out his name is Timon Berkowitz.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say.
Yep.
Now here's where I stopped watching because that was like...
because that's where he got banished. That was the half point.
That was the half point because I thought we were only doing part A because part B has a different name. So I didn't watch part B. So that's where I was just like, oh, okay, that's it. I guess I won't know what happened. But you watched part B.
I did because it was all part of a single episode on Disney Plus. So I just watched the whole thing.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to know what else happens. You let me know.
Okay.
Because I am honestly interested.
It was actually kind of interesting. So he gets banished. The first thing that happens is like he's wandering through the jungle like alone and he runs into the hyenas. I don't remember all their names, but the famous hyenas.
Ed, Bonsai, and Shinzi.
Yes, those three. They capture him or they like trap him in their lair where Pumbaa is also there trapped. And Pumbaa's like excited to be there because he's like, well, they said they're going to have us for dinner. And he's thinking like they're going to make him dinner. But Timon convinces him. He's like, no, they're going to make us dinner. And so that's when they work out like a little plan and manage to escape. And then they go their separate ways at first, like, well, I better get back to the colony or whatever. And then they end up kind of running into each other again right after because neither of them had anywhere to go or anyone to go to. So they start kind of chasing bugs together. They have like a little song after. So they have this situation where they're kind of having a burp off, like they're burping back and forth to each other. And then Pumbaa farts and Timon is like, what is that smell? And Pumbaa is trying to convince him it's a skunk or something. And when Timon's not convinced, that's when they break out into song. And this is a long song too. And it goes so many different directions. Like I can't even really describe it because it plays so many different tunes or the melody of so many different songs with, different words to it, like Timon and Pumbaa and a meerkat and a big warthog and stuff. And so they're talking about how they're sort of becoming friends through this, through song. And they ultimately decide, yeah, like we're going to stay friends. Let's just hang out. Let's just, run off together and chase bugs and whatever. And that's when they run into this pit where the snake is with Tatiana. And Timon convinces Pumbaa to help him rescue her because he's like, if we rescue her, I'll get married and be rich. And then I can convince the Duke for you to come move into the colony and you will no longer be an outcast. So everybody wins. But Timon falls in first and he's about to be eaten as well. But Pumbaa dives in and like screams Hakuna Matata as he's like diving down and swoops up Tatiana and Timon. And then the snake, it's kind of like a little lava pit, I guess, because the snake like dives down towards them to get them as they're pulled up and then ends up diving into the lava. So the snake's dead, I'm assuming. We don't see him anymore. They get back to the colony, delivering Tatiana to the Duke. He rewards the key to the city to Timon and a bunch of other stuff like television and like a big stereo system and stuff, just a bunch of random items. And then Tatiana asks for his hand in marriage. But the stipulation is there's no warthogs allowed because this is a meerkat colony. And so he can either have power, riches, and love or a stinky warthog. And at the end of the day, he chooses friendship with Pumbaa and they kind of go off together. But that's where Rafiki cuts it off. And Zazu's like, no, I want to hear the rest of the story. Like, Simba's fine. Like, he's probably just needs a diaper change or something. And here's where we see Simba because he's like right beside him, like, oh, so I guess I just need my diaper changed, huh? Simba then asks Rafiki to finish the story. So he's talking about how Timon gave up all that stuff for Pumbaa. And we basically see how they come up with Hakuna Matata, where they're walking off and just like, all right, we're just going to have no worries for the rest of our days and all that. And we should name this philosophy something. And that's kind of how it closes out, is them coining that phrase.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of a sweet story because earlier in the episode, it was after Pumbaa came into it. He mentions, he's like, you know what? I'd give up like all the power, riches, and love or whatever to stay friends with you. And Timon says he'd do the same, but Pumbaa doesn't hear him because like they're traveling through a log or something. So it's kind of like they do where they have the lead into it and then the payoff at the end by him actually doing it.
Yeah, that's actually really sweet. I really like that a lot.
It was like I liked the second half of the episode more than I did the first half.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad that I missed that now. I'm like, oh man. What's interesting though is like, so that part with Zazu that you mentioned, the part that I saw, they included that at the halfway point at the end of.
Okay, yeah, it's there also. Like, so he does it twice.
Weird.
Yeah,
that is so strange. Okay,
I mean, it's not the same conversation, but it's Zazu asking for more, and that's where Rafiki's like, well, okay, I'll tell you the rest and how he met Pumbaa and all that. And then, at the end, he does the same thing after he cuts him off, and that's when Simba shows up as well.
Okay, interesting. So does that lead into why you think that this can't be canon, or does that come up somewhere else?
Well, okay, I just think it can't be canon because of all the technological advances they have that they wouldn't have had and didn't have in the movies. You know, like they are driving around in cars. Timon's taking an actual shower, whereas in the movie, you know, they just take a shower under the waterfall or something. So it's like, instead of like utilizing nature, they have technology. They have a rocket ship. You know what? Like, that's not something they had in the movies. They were walking on space at one point. So it's like all these things just didn't tie into the actual Lion King universe for me.
Maybe technology advanced real fast after the movie ended, you know? Like, movie ended and then Industrial Revolution hits Africa.
And all the animals learn it too.
Yeah, they learned how to create indoor plumbing and created high rises. And everything else. So
So that's why I feel like it's not canon, just because of all the randomness there was to this. And I'll get more into that in a little bit. But for now, it looks like it's about time we send our inner kids to the Pride Lands to try out that sweet, worry-free life, which I guess mainly involves running around naked with your best friend and eating a ton of bugs. Then see what they thought of the show, Timon and Pumbaa.
I wasn't sure if I'd like this cartoon because some Disney shows are just so boring for me. But this cartoon was pretty fun. But it's kind of like they took all the best parts of Lion King and then served it with too many grubs.
I just want to say that I think my teacher has really been holding back valuable information about animals from me and my classmates. I didn't know they had vehicles, gated communities, and fears of their judgmental mothers just like the rest of us. I guess I'll just have to educate her about what really happens in the animal kingdom. I may even suggest a being native field trip for full immersion.
You know, I didn't think that I would be able to relate to Timon that much, and now I know I'm wrong. I definitely can. I feel I can definitely relate to Timon, for sure. So, what were some stuff that you liked about this show? We've heard a few of the things that you didn't like a little bit, but I'm sure you'll get more into those. But let's compliment sandwich this thing a little bit. What were some of the things you did like?
I think the animation was pretty well done for what it was. Obviously not on par with the movies due to time and budget constraints, but I think it was done well enough to where you got the point across. The characters all looked like their movie counterparts, and that didn't bother me at all, especially with all of the random things that were happening. The animation was good. Also, I think some of the jokes were really funny, even if like I'm departing myself from the Lion King franchise and just looking at this as a variety show. Some of the jokes really hit for me. Unfortunately, some of them were also almost immediately detracted by just something else randomly thrown into the scene for no real reason that kind of took away from the impact of some of the jokes.
Yeah, I'm kind of there too. It was funnier than I expected it to be, though. But I suppose with cartoons like this, there's that level of there's kind of like a level of corniness to expect. Almost like a recycled humor of certain gags and jokes that you know are going to be in shows like this, because all shows like this have a similar premise to them, do the same types of gags and jokes and things. And they didn't shy away from a lot of those, but there was still a lot that really made me laugh. Like I talked about that second episode, I laughed a lot. And even though like the gags they did are nothing really new, but I had a really good time with quite a few of the jokes and things that they pulled off. To your point, though, the absurdness did get a little over the top at times. I guess that gets into my dislikes, which is really the only thing that I've got, is that sometimes the randomness of the show was a little too random. And I just, it was almost kind of like they really have a momentum going for a while. And I think that second episode is a prime example. They've got a great momentum going, and then they just throw the most random, off the wall gag in there that feels like it derails it a little bit, or just, it turns it for me. It turns it around, and I'm just kind of like, I was having a good time, and then this one was just kind of, I don't know, it fell flat for me, and just not necessarily left a bad taste in my mouth, but it just wasn't up to par with everything else you've been doing. So it almost felt like maybe, I don't know if there was a lot of different writers in the show or something like that, but just maybe some of the writing styles didn't mix all that well. I don't know.
Yeah, no one needed practical joking friend Fred to jump into that scene when he had not even been introduced before this. It was just like, hey, I'm a random new character at the end of this episode that was going great, and here I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of ties into one of my likes and dislikes. I'm going to transfer from one to the other. So the wackiness of it and the randomness of it, I think, was a strength and a weakness. Unfortunately, I think more of a weakness, but I appreciated at least how random the show could be, since it really opened up new possibilities that wouldn't have really been available to Timon and Pumbaa otherwise, given the restrictions of what the show had, or what the movie had set in motion. But at the same time, this complete lack of structure gave it more of an Animaniacs Tiny Toon Adventure variety show feel, which in and of itself isn't a bad thing, but it kind of made using Timon and Pumbaa as the lead characters pointless, because it's a complete departure from the rules that the Lion King movies had already set. So a way I think they could have improved that was by making it either Timon and Pumbaa telling a third party, like maybe one of Simba's kids, fantastical embellished stories about their adventures. That way it still ties into the reality of the films, but it's like them exaggerating as they're known to do. So it would kind of make more sense, or just make it like a weird Dallas dream sequence or something. But it's that all this stuff is supposed to be real in this universe that throws it off. And in this way, if they had done any of those things that I just mentioned, they could have at least gotten away with making it a canonical part of the series, which maybe wasn't their intention. And I know this is probably more geared towards kids than the movie was, whereas the movie's kind of more of a family ordeal. This one's very much a kid-centric one, and I get that, but I just feel like it feels so different from the movies for me that it kind of takes away.
Sure. I like something you said there when you mentioned Tiny Toon Adventures. This gives me a very, very similar feel as Tiny Toon Adventures as far as some of the randomness and stuff like that comes up. Now, what was, I guess, something that works for Tiny Toons is they played it smart where they used all new characters, but characters that still had a sense of familiarity because, they're like proteges of, these established characters and they have similar looks and some similar characteristics and stuff. So in that sense, they were able to sort of take the echelon of Looney Tunes and do something completely different and make them random, and it still worked. Whereas this, you plucked characters that already existed in something and then threw them into something else. And that does make it a little odd. And I do think that if you were to take the same gags and make some minor edits to the stories, change the names, change the character designs, this probably could fit anything. Like it wouldn't have to be Timon and Pumbaa.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that you're getting at, and is kind of a downfall of it, is that this is a show about Timon and Pumbaa that didn't cater to what was already established about those characters, other than that Hakuna Matata attitude towards things. But other than that, there wasn't really any other connection anymore. So I thinking about that, I do agree with you there.
Yeah, so I guess at the end of the day, what would you rate this show?
Well, I think that overall, I still think it was a pretty good show. I think it was another show that proved that I had no idea what I was missing as a kid, because I didn't watch this as a kid. I've mentioned before that I avoided Disney cartoons that weren't the movies when I was little, because there wasn't really like action, it wasn't Ninja Turtles, it wasn't Batman, it wasn't Mighty Max, so I didn't really care. And because of that, I missed out on a lot of good stuff. But even though I didn't watch it, I can feel that nostalgia through the screen, like teasing me a little bit with the feelings of being a kid again. I think because, honestly, and going back to what we just talked about a little bit, I think honestly, because it does remind me of Tiny Toon Adventures a little bit in some of the ways that the gags are pulled off. So that said, I did enjoy it. It's not one that pulled me in enough that I want to watch more, because I don't. But I am glad that I watched it, and it showed me that it does deserve some appreciation. So I gave this cartoon 3 bowls of Infinite Pumbaa Parent cereal out of 5.
For me, as much as I ragged on this show, I don't think it was bad, and I think it would be really entertaining for kids. It was just difficult for me personally to accept as part of the Lion King franchise due to the extreme liberties that it took. And like Chris was saying earlier, it felt like it just could have been any characters in there. It didn't need to be Timon and Pumbaa. And the fact that you added them in when this was kind of a Looney Tunes type world that was very waggy, taking Lion King's characters and putting them into that didn't really work for me. So overall, I'd give Timon and Pumbaa 3 big bowls of Hakuna Munch-Tata cereal out of 5. While I don't think I'll personally be watching any more of it, I can at least understand why some people might enjoy it.
Hakuna Munch-Tata.
I think there actually was a Timon and Pumbaa cereal at one point, but I think it was like bugs and something.
Oh, I'm sure it would have had like grub marshmallows or something, right?
Yeah,
like have to.
probably.
Why wouldn't it? Yeah. So, but anyway, thank you so much to both I'm the Champion 23 and Nicholas Moss. We're looking forward to your detective agency adventures that we discussed earlier. We would love to see those. Thank you for bringing this to our attention and letting us get to review it.
Yes, thank you both. And Nick, never forget to oil I Am Champion 23 because he's going to need it sometimes.
Yeah, he's going to get rusty. He's not the same body he used to be.
Nope. Well, listeners, it looks like our milk supply is now run dry, so it's time for us to say goodbye. And next week, we'll be watching
The Beatles, suggested via something, because Chris lost the info again.
Again?
I swear there's a goblin living in our little database here that keeps deleting stuff when I need it. He's in
He's
there.
moved up.
It's the algorithm. It's Kenneth Chisholm. He's in there. He's deleting my stuff. So I think I know who it was. I think Idiotic Comics suggested this years ago.
Okay.
But I could be very wrong. If you suggested this, whoever you are, please let us know. And I apologize for either myself or whoever I'm going to pass the blame to. It could be Joseph. It could be Kenneth Chisholm. It could be any number of internet goblins that I place the blame on.
Could be that the sock goblin got a promotion. Instead of stealing socks, he now steals the name
Data.
of the reviewer or name of the people who suggest things to us.
Yeah, he's a data goblin now.
Yeah. Got a big promotion.
I'm stealing your data now.
Yeah.
That's my job.
That's my job.
Don't feed the data goblin, guys.
No.
It's bad enough he got your socks. So anyway.
This would be a good transition into if we had advertisements, some kind of like antivirus stuff, but we don't, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, at some point in the future, if we're ever sponsored by Norton Antivirus, there's your give us money. Ta-da!
Yep. Avoid
The
those
ends.
data goblins.
Keep the data goblins out with Norton or McAfee or any of those other people.
McCorton.
McAfee. Yes.
Yes. Well, once again, I'm Joseph,
And I'm Chris until the data goblin steals my name.
and we'll see you probably next Saturday.
Presented by Nerdsloth.
A place for lazy nerds.
If you like what you heard, consider donating at patreon.com/nerdsloth so we can continue bringing you quality shows. Be sure to also leave us a review and share your favorite episodes and clips on social media. If you're looking for more content, visit us at nerdsloth.com.